Entrepreneur's Enigma is a podcast for the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. So the wins and the fails that we all face being entrepreneurs, how we learn from adversity. Every week I talk to a different entrepreneur with a story to tell. I'm Seth Goldstein. Come with me on the journey. This is Entrepreneur's Enigma. Let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Entrepreneur's Enigma podcast. As always, I'm Seth, has not changed. I am here with Fred Mather. He is the co-founder of Advisewell. He is the chairman of Pavilion, which is a great group online of senior level executives, entrepreneurs. He founded that. He was part of it with Sam Jacobs, who was on the program previously. Hey, Fred, how's it going?
Doing well, thanks, Seth. Very nice to see you.
He also has the
Thanks so
great
much for
British
having me on.
accent, too. He also has the great British accent, so.
That's the only reason I've had some sort of a career, by the way. So.
Oh, everyone loves the British accent. Oh, and congratulations on your new king. Yeah, if that's
Well, yeah,
or sort of spot one or two.
Yeah, there seems to be some mixed views about the coronation this weekend. I mean, I think we'll watch it. We're a bit royalist like that, but
It's a spectacle.
It's a spectacle. Exactly. All the pomp and ceremony will be on show.
Apparently, no other royal in the world does a coronation. Everyone else is like, I think I read something like the Norwegians got rid of it in like 1906. They're like, you're the king. We don't need to do all this pomp and circumstance. But the Brits you guys tend to like pomp and circumstance. So it'll be fun.
Yeah, definitely. Exactly.
So hey, enough about the royals. Let's talk about Fred here. Fred, you have been around a lot. You have had some exits. You've had some IPOs. You've been in and out, entrepreneurship, and I wanted to have you on the show because you also help other entrepreneurs along the way. You advise them. You say, hey, here's what I learned. Here's what worked. Here's what didn't work, and all that stuff. So Fred, give me a little bit of a background on how this all got started. This whole journey got started for you.
Yeah, sure. My background has always sort of been on the commercial side, so variety of sales positions. In the UK, I moved here to the fine country of the USA in 98.
The fine country.
Exactly.
Well, as an American, I laugh at that. Yeah. So.
Well, we were big travelers and we were chasing a bit of a dream. We didn't necessarily come with a plan. We had two young kids. We thought we'd enjoy it for a few years, and here we are 25 years later. It's funny. I think when I reflect on my career, I would say that one, I've learned a lot about what I now do in Pavilion that is probably different in terms of how I help and advise people. I think for myself, I probably could advise myself a little bit better. I didn't necessarily have a full plan. I took the jobs that came, and if I got lucky and hopefully I applied myself, I did okay out of it. I was in operating roles for the better part of 25 years. Stopped working and became, I suppose, a true entrepreneur, Seth, in about 2017. But yeah, I've been fortunate in many ways, both financially and in the career. And I would say that I've reached a better stage of happiness professionally right now. Always met brilliant people, thoroughly enjoyed a lot of the jobs I did. But I would say I was more content and financially driven than entirely happy in a lot of those roles. So I feel in a very good place right now.
Oh, that's great. And that's a great thing, about entrepreneurship. I mean, there are ups and downs. There is terror at times, but you're also in charge of your own destiny, and it's kind of rewarding that way. At least that's how I feel. So let's talk a little bit about Pavilion. I think there's in the bio you sent me, there's like 10,000 members of this group. It's insane. It's nationwide, international. And so how'd you get started with Pavilion? I mean, I guess you met Sam in New York.
Yeah, I mean, it started as a dinner club. I mean, the simplicity of back then of just getting a group of people together to talk about
Imagine that.
personal and professional things in a forum, often over dinner. is somewhat still of what's at the heart of this group today. 10,000 members actually is what we're now up to.
Wow.
And so I attended those dinners, and we were a pretty small group for a few years. And then, Sam came out of an operating role roughly around the same time as me, and we kind of found each other. I was sort of deciding what I was going to do next. I got into consulting and actually did some initial work with him before I went to Advisewell and founded that with Jess Wilkieson, a fellow Pavilion member. And he gave up the consulting and went full time into what is now establishing the membership. And
it's pretty wild, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think other than the one-to-one and the group sessions, it was all really about coaching. And we ran small cohorts of associate members and gave them some help and support on their careers and where they were going. I sort of evolved into two things. One, I wrote a lot of the executive compensation guide, and one of the reasons I've been fortunate to get some half decent exits is probably because of the structure of what I negotiated on those contracts. So I took what I learned there and applied it into Pavilion. And, I've sort of, alongside a few others, become a little bit of a guru around how to navigate that testy little path.
That's a big thing.
Get the best package and to protect you, frankly, as well. So I do a lot of that. And then at the beginning of COVID, Sam asked me if I would, help people get back into work. There wasn't really a brief. Sam said, hey, listen, let's set up this thing called On the Bench and let's see what we can do. And I threw myself at it and have been doing it now for 3 years. And I have to tell you, Seth, it's one of the most rewarding things that I've ever done in my life. It's been a wonderful chance to give back at this stage in my career and to make any type of contribution, small or large, to people who are in need at a place or time where they are seeking employment, a good thing. So those are the two main tracks that I'm on inside Pavilion.
It's a crazy time for the economy. And, and On the Bench, I heard about it. I'm like, that's great to know that it's there. I've told a few people that have been like going on to the bench in Pavilion that I know they're going on to the bench. I'm like, go check out, go check out the On the Bench area, because I feel like you need support. Like my wife was during the pandemic, she got a job. During the pandemic, she was laid off from that job. And then she, obviously had to decompress and all that stuff. But I find that you need support because it's a job, but it's even more of a thankless job looking for a job, because like people, some people string you along, and it's just nice to have a group of people saying, hey, we're going through the same thing. You can do this. Here's some tips on this. Here's a tip on your resume. Here's all that good stuff. And I think that's really important to have. And I think it's very beneficial in a group like this of sales leaders and even up and coming sales leaders. Like there's kids in this group, not kids. I say I'm 41. I'm calling them kids, but there's like young millennials. Actually, now even Generation Z, even I think they're in the workforce now. So Generation Z and the young millennials are kind of at the beginning of their careers, and I think it's great, and they should definitely check out Pavilion. It's not exactly the cheapest membership, but the value there is so incredible, and plus you get to talk to people like Fred. So.
Yeah, good stuff. And I listen. I think the job hunt is a deep process these days, particularly for executives in this current environment, as you just touched on, Seth. It's even harder. It's very much in the control of employers right now. And a lot of people, historically tend to be a little reactive when they think about a job search, and that may bear fruit, but typically you have to put a lot of work in up front. You have to do a lot of research. You have to be really proficient and ready for the path ahead to get that new job. And so, I feel that what we've been able to do, other than that emotional support point you make, is to provide a consolidated, complete curriculum, if you will, of where you can go to for all the elements of what you need. And we get a ton of speakers and ton of content, frameworks. Yeah. It's been really cool.
Yeah, that's needed as well, because if you think about it, when you've been in a job for 5, 10, 15 years, even 3 years, you come out and you're a little rusty on the job search. Your resume needs updating. Now you need a website. Like now you need to have an online presence. And when you're at a company, a lot of times you don't focus on that. It's a whole new ball game from back when I was a plebe in the corporate cog. So definitely. So Fred, What is the best thing about being an entrepreneur? Because you've been the cog, you've been the executive, and now you're doing the entrepreneur thing. What's the best thing that you see as being an entrepreneur now?
Well, definitely having freedom, Seth. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I do enjoy the fact that I've probably got a lot better sort of work-life balance now than I had.
Yeah.
I mean, the hamster wheel of the 24/7 startup world was thrilling at times, but now I can do what I want when I want. I've got a wonderful partner in Jess, as I just mentioned. I think on the consulting side, the thing that's most appealing is you get to play in a lot of different places. And we've done
Yeah.
everything from work with traditional engineering businesses all the way through to SaaS. I mean, it's just a whole variety, stage,
Yeah.
industry, profile of company. And, humans are the biggest factor in all projects, not least of which consulting, because what can be done by whom, their willingness to change and
Mm-hmm.
adapt and all that kind of stuff. So I like the pond with which we play in, and
Yeah.
it's been a lot of fun. We picked up on some things that Sam had been doing. We apply these diagnostic assessments to the work we do. So
Wow.
it's a
Yeah.
process that's super immersive. It gets us very close to the business, which is important
Love
to be
that.
credible when you're making recommendations. It's analytical, which I think people like, particularly in this environment. So
Mm-hmm.
it's been really good. And, we have worked with a lot of companies here, South America, over in the UK, where Jess is based. She's an American married
Yeah,
to a
I always
Brit.
thought that was funny when I first met you. You said the Brits in the U.S. and Americans in Britain. Love it.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. We sort of compare notes. She's a little bit more recent over there than I am here, but yeah, it's kind of amusing, and it's all been culminating for me. We are evolving into possibly raising a small VC fund. And we
Ooh.
got hooked up with a company a couple of years ago called 82i, Jason Shapiro, and he
Mm-hmm.
was sort of on the venture side, working maybe more of a sort of principal venture
Mm-hmm.
partner type role. And he set up a financial consulting firm with many components, but a key one around helping startups with their readiness to raise capital.
They
And
need
so
that.
he and I
Yeah.
went through a little bit of a courtship, and we decided to try and raise a fund, and it's going to be an operator-driven fund, which is not
Ooh.
incredibly novel. There are a few around. Stage
Yeah.
two is a form of that, I think, GTM fund. A few
Mm-hmm.
others have raised successfully recently, and we believe that we can put a lot of money to work, but most
Yeah.
important, we can apply our expertise as commercial leaders to do some value
Mm-hmm.
creation type work for these companies beyond the check that we write. And so that's
And
just
that's
another
important.
example
Yeah.
of the freedom that entrepreneurship's given me to be able to do something like that. So
And I love that it's, for you, it's more, it's as much, yeah, you put money in, yes, you get your return on your investment eventually, hopefully, something doesn't always happen. But you're also about giving and you're about helping and advising. And a lot of people, especially with, during COVID and before that, everyone was like, VCs are just in it for the money. If you find the right VC or the right angel, they're in it for the money. Like, money does talk, but they're also in it to help you succeed. And I think that that's when I'm working with a startup now, and I keep telling them, I'm like, look, we have to find the right people. The right. I mean, as much as we need to find the right people in the company for the cultural fit, we need to find the right investors for the cultural fit that believe in the mission and all that stuff. So, on the flip side, what keeps you up at night?
my kids, of course, worrying about them. They're grown
Yeah,
up, but this they still have parental needs, so them for
yeah.
sure. The state of the economy is worrying. I don't want to be
Mm.
naive, but I'm a little confused as to exactly what is going on right now.
I think we all are.
There is kind of there's sort of these alternate universes of the tech side, and then the rest of the world or the rest of the
Yeah.
country, if you will, that seems to be holding up somewhat better. Not to get into a testy path, but I'm concerned politically about what's going on in this country on a lot
Mm.
of levels.
Yeah.
Listen, whenever you move or wherever you live, frankly, there's always trade-offs.
Yes.
I've thoroughly enjoyed my time in the States. It's a country of opportunity, and for a salesperson, um, it was always enlightening to me when I first worked for an American company in London before I moved here that sales was at the forefront of companies. And when I
Yeah.
worked in the UK prior, you were sort of like a little bit of well, we'll just sort of leave you in the background. Sales is sort of the unspoken role inside the
Wow.
company, and so being able to thrive in that function's been really really wonderful for me here. Hey, listen, we're ridiculously fortunate. I have stuff to worry about, but compared with most, I should consider myself incredibly fortunate. We live in New York. Our kids are healthy and well. My wife too. We have a wonderful family around ourselves. So yeah, levity for me.
And you can also escape New York, which is nice too, because you can go to your house up in Connecticut if you need to, to get away from the hustle and bustle of New York. Because I mean, New York's a lot. I mean, I'm a Philadelphia guy, and Philadelphia is a lot. When I go to New York, I'm like, I need to decompress for like 3 days. It's a lot. That's coming from
it's a shock.
So.
100%. It's a sharp-elbowed city for sure.
Yeah.
It's a material city too. My daughter always reminded me, I can never afford to live here, Dad. She used to say to me. But if you have the faintest hint of interest in anything cultural, arts-wise, and we're big into music. We go to all the museums. I mean, there is so much to do here. The other thing, actually, is I think people forget how convenient the city New York is. I mean, obviously, there's 5 boroughs. We live in Manhattan. I mean, you can get anywhere in 10 minutes. I mean, London's a vast city by comparison. And so I think you enjoy the immediacy of everything that's available to you here. So
the subway's great. It smells terrible, but it's like, it's something about the subway. People knocked the New York subway, but there's nothing quite like it. I mean, the tubes over in London's is good as well, but like New York City subway, for better or for worse, is the lifeblood. Really, you can get anywhere with that system.
Yeah,
it doesn't catch on fire like the metro in DC.
Exactly. But it is a city, New York, where they don't really invest a lot in the infrastructure. I always talk about the fact they need an Olympics or a World Cup. I think there's actually a World Cup partially coming here. So then they're forced to put the investment into the improvements in the infrastructure. I mean, they put like $5 billion into LaGuardia to improve it, but they don't put $1 into the way that you get to the airport. It's just,
it's a murder game there. And
forget
about JFK. Forget about JFK.
I know exactly. But these are small criticisms. There's so much to be enjoying in a crazy, wonderful place like New York.
It is. So what is the most important thing to carry with you all the time? This can be physical or metaphysical. Go as deep as you want.
Carry with me all the time. Well, a book probably. It's funny. When you're on these shows and you talk to people, they always sort of want to find out what current business books you've read. I'm a little bit more of a fiction reader, to be honest with you. I mean, I do read, of course, business books, and I read a lot of articles. I'm currently reading the new Amor Tolls book, the Lincoln Highway, and I'm about to read Bono's book about his life, his biography, which I've heard is brilliant.
He's a fascinating guy, yeah.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, really. And I love the band as I grew up. So there's a lot of musical interest beyond sort of tracking his story. But that's it. Carry a backpack everywhere with all my worldly goods in there, up and down from Connecticut. Exactly. Yeah. That's about it. I generally travel like with empty pockets. Of course, I have a cell phone on me like everybody else, but that's it. I like to be nice and lean on the walk, if you will.
Yeah, there's a lot of walking in New York too, so absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
So where can people find you? Where's your watering hole online? Like where do you hang out the most?
Well, I'm all over Pavilion. I'm on email. I'm in Slack. Obviously, I have a work email too. That's where most people are going to find me. Obviously, we have a website, Advisewell for sure. We'll have a website for the fund, which I'm obviously excited about getting going.
Yeah.
I've always considered myself to be an accessible guy. I'm an action-oriented person, so if you need me for something, especially in Pavilion, I'm always going to give my time. I'm fortunate to be able to do that. I do a ton of meetings every week. If you want coffee, if you want to meet for a beer, whatever the topic, I'm certainly around and make my time available to people. So come and seek me out.
That's awesome. And guess what, everybody? We'll see you next time. That was a great show. If you're enjoying Entrepreneur's Enigma, please review us in the podcast directory of your choice. Every review helps other podcast listeners find our show. If you're looking for other podcasts in the marketing space, look no further than the Marketing Podcast Network at marketingpodcasts.net. Media hopes you have enjoyed this episode. This podcast is one of the many great shows on the MPN Marketing Podcast Network.